to another edition of Equity Smart. It's the new cool. And we have another great guest here, Dan Evans. Dan is going to tell us, everything about his company and how to be successful and things that he's seeing in the community that I think we all can be a part of. So, Dan.
My name is Dan Evans. My company is DD&T Multi-Purpose LLC. I specifically do heating and air conditioning, refrigeration now, but I kind of dabble in all facets of, messing with homes from real estate agent to various different, investor, so on and so forth. So been at it roughly for about, I would say 25 years now, a little bit over 25 years now.
Mm-hmm. I was at a property, I think we were in Garfield Heights, and you were putting in a furnace. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, a furnace. He was doing good work. He was there by himself. Oh, yeah. He was getting it in.
That's what we do.
Well, as he said, he is definitely multi-purpose, multifaceted, and he is a vast array of knowledge. One of the many things that intrigued me about him is his knowledge of the stock market and his knowledge of investing in the stock market, and he's been successful. He told me he's beat the S&P 500 a number of years, and he has a very good strategy with limited risk. And I want him to talk a little bit about that. This is not investment advice or financial advice you get with a consultant or someone you feel comfortable with, but this is his story. So tell us a little bit about that, Dan.
Well, my formula to invest in is to more so invest in necessities, like things that you have to have: food, clothing, and shelter. So in my opinion, you can never go wrong with investing in, something such as that. Like I do heat and air conditioning refrigeration. So since I do heat and air conditioning refrigeration, I have a portfolio with Carrier. Because that's the product that I mostly use. Okay, so I can look at it as twofold. I'm making money on installing the Carrier furnace. Okay, but then I'm getting a yield and a dividend off of having the Carrier stock. So it's kind of like a twofold effect. I think if we want to say have luxury clothing, which is fine, that's what you want to do what you do. But why can't we have Louis Vuitton, Moet Hennessy stock? Louis Vuitton, Moet Hennessy owns all of your major brands. Every designer brand, your Gucci's, your Fendi's, your Prada's, all that is owned by Louis Vuitton, Moet Hennessy. Okay?
And that's a good point.
Wow.
Hold that thought right there, because during COVID, he exceeded Jeff Bezos of Amazon as the richest man in the world, because he was selling Cavassier and the purses.
Right.
So a lot of people don't realize that, so Dan kind of taught me, he mentioned a story to me, and you might not even remember this, but he was at the Harley Davis restaurant, and the people came in there with all the Harley Davis
and the coats and the buckles and the boots and the jeans. I'm like, the stock is only $56 a share.
Wow.
I mean, so I look at it from that vantage point. We're the number one consumers in the world.
Yes, we are.
So
if we're going to wear it, we need to invest in it.
We're going to buy it. We're going to wear it. We're going to drive it. We're going to drink it. We're going to, all facets of it.
All facets, right.
Okay? So if that's what you're going to do, then why not be a part owner in what you're doing? Because you're marketing and advertising your product. Mm-hmm. You may own a fraction of a percentage of that company, but you're an owner of that company. Mm-hmm. Okay, the fiduciary duty of every company is to make the shareholder a profit. Okay, so that's, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about.
And how many of us have looked at it like that? I mean, looking at the things that you go through every day in your life, and you don't have ownership in it. And that's one of the unique pieces, I think, that Dan kind of brings to the table with his portfolio. And then you look for a lot of stocks and stuff to give you dividends versus some of the stuff that I was bringing to you. Cartwright, you want to be a risk taker.
And that's fine. Yeah. That's called diversification. You just diversify your portfolio. If that's what you want to do, but you got to have something to offset the risk. Mm-hmm. Okay, but like me, for an example, I do what's called DRIP accounts, dividend reinvestment accounts.
Repeat that one more time.
DRIP, dividend reinvestments.
Okay.
Like, for an example, First Energy. your power company, illuminating company,
mhm.
First Energy, is traded on the stock exchange under the ticker symbol capital F, capital E.
Okay.
Now you have to have electricity, right?
Right.
Sure do.
Okay, so why not own some of First Energy stock? It's your company.
Makes sense.
And on the flip side, though, on the activist side, you know how we feel a company might slight us as a people? Well, guess what? If you had 100 brothers and sisters that own a fraction of a share in that company, you can go to the company shareholders meeting every year. Okay, so go and voice your displeasure at the shareholders meeting when you make your vote for the board of directors. Okay, so we got to be a little bit more proactive, you know.
Right.
We'll talk you to death.
Yeah.
You know.
But you know, we're programmed to go to the bank,
Yeah.
open up a CD
Right.
that doesn't pay high interest,
High interest at all.
and just let it sit there.
And
then if we want to pull some money out, we get penalized. We're penalized. See, they don't teach us about they don't teach us about the stocks.
They do not, you know. But you look at it from this vantage point too. Like for an example, if you take AGNC, which is a real estate trust company, I think AGNC is probably yielding about maybe, I would say 15 or 17% interest.
Wow.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Wow.
And then paying you a monthly dividend of 12 cents. And so for every share that you have, you're getting 12 cents for every share, compounded with the 16, 14, 17% interest. I think 15 and 17% interest. So it's a win-win. You know, the bank is only paying you 1/4 of 1% interest. 1/4 of 1%, not 1%. Okay?
And they're taking the money you put into the CD, and what are they doing?
Yeah,
investing it in the stocks.
Money.
But you know, to me, a humble old citizen, they would charge me with usury and lock me out.
Wow.
If I was doing that. I mean, you know, if you was an individual, they call it loan sharking. That's what they call it, loan sharking. To us, it's called loan sharking.
Right.
And it's a crime.
Wow.
Right, but to them, it's called banking.
Wow.
They're banking.
They're banking.
We're loan sharks.
Yeah.
Go figure that, okay? But, you know, back to that though, even if you're gonna bank, that's fine, okay? But I was always taught to bank at a credit union and not bank at a regular bank. But for those that want to bank at a regular bank, knock yourself out. You're not telling you what to do, okay? But, you know, back in the day, those same banks redlined us. Okay? When they literally took a red ink pen and draw a red line around the map, and whoever fell within that red line can't get a loan. Okay? Yeah. But a credit union was more lenient because you can borrow against your money in a credit union.
Right.
So if you got 1,000, you got 2,000. If you got 10,000, you got 20,000.
Right.
You know, so that's the benefit of going to the credit union. But on the flip side, back to the banks though, if you choose to bank, like a Fidelity has like a now account, which is an interest-bearing checking account. It gives you free checks. When you're finna run out, they send you some more checks. You know, and it's probably yielding maybe 4 or 5% interest. So you know, it's different ways of doing it. You just have to be more smarter with your money.
Right.
Let your money work for you. You work for it, but it's not working for you.
But it's not working for
that makes 0 sense.
Absolutely.
You know? Yeah. So just, and also too, people fail to realize too, it doesn't take an awful lot of money. You just have to be consistent. If it's $50 a month, $100 a month, $20 a month. You know, like Mr. Shatini. Shout out to Mr. Shatini, was a professor down at the college. He had taught us back in the day, like if you go to the store, $1.03, give them $2. Put 97 cents in your bank at the end of the day. You know, never spend your change. I had the blessing of purchasing 2 homes off of change.
Wow.
You know?
Wow.
You better build up like that.
Well, it's a challenge. You know, I started with a quart of cranberry juice. That was my first jar. I want to see how quick I can fill that quart. Went from a quart, so I went to the tall, that Coca-Cola bottle.
Yes.
Coca-Cola bottle.
The big, yep.
And I just filled that up. When I filled that up, that was like anywhere from 15 to 2,500.
Wow.
Then I graduated to the 5-gallon jar. You know, 5-gallon jar is about anywhere from $3,500 to $6,000.
Wow.
But I try.
You actually was able to pick up a couple properties from saving that money, just your change.
Yeah, bro. The house I'm in right now, I think I was short at the title company about maybe $1,100. So I went and got my change and went to the bank and I counted.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
Bro, I went close.
You got any change left over for me?
Right.
Hey, listen, these ain't jokes though. This is real talk.
Right.
This is real talk. This ain't a joke. It's right.
Now, for somebody who was, starting off in the stock market, I mean, because
It's intimidating.
It's very intimidating. I started a Robinhood account with $100,
Okay.
and I did not know anything about investing,
Right.
and I just let it sit there,
Right.
and then it went down to
That's what I
zero.
was about to say, because you got to feed. You got to pay.
I gotta feed it.
You got a monthly fee.
I gotta feed it. I didn't see.
It's a
That's what I'm
monthly fee.
saying.
I'll say like this.
Yeah. So how would a new beginner?
I would say, for an example, right? Pepsi, Coca-Cola are household names.
Right. We drink
Like
it all the
Arm
time.
and Hammer is a household name. If you take survey of everything in your house, is in your house, is in yours, is in my house.
Absolutely, it sure
is.
is.
In everybody's house, right. Like Kraft Heinz food.
Right.
In everybody's house. Various different products is in everyone's house. But let's take Coca-Cola for an example, right? You can go to Computer Share.
Computershare.com?
Computershare.com.
Okay.
You go to computershare.com, you can pull up various different companies, and you'll see Coca-Cola and then you see Pepsi on there. Like with them, the first initial investment is $500 with a commitment of investing $50 a month. But they have another option. If you have a checking account, you can opt to invest $50 for 10 months until you get up to
$500. Okay,
great.
that's easy. Yeah, you can handle that.
With the commitment of investing nothing less than $50 a month afterwards. Okay, so you have to be committed to investing afterwards. But that's what I mean when I say it doesn't take an awful lot of cash.
Right.
Okay, we may go out to dinner, we may go out on the night and have a good time and spend $200-300. Okay, so it's not like we don't have the couple of dollars to invest. We can't look at.
And it's tax time too.
$50 is doable.
It's doable.
Yeah,
It's very doable. But what I'm saying is like, some of us have this, ideal that you gotta have crazy amount of money.
Thousands.
$10,000,
$5,000, $25,000.
Like that. No, if you take a drop of water and keep consistently dropping on the same spot in the concrete, you'll bust the concrete with one drop of water. Okay? So if you just take your 1 penny, right, and invest your penny to make some nickels, to make some dimes, to get some quarters and a couple 50-cent pieces, you might even have a Susan B. Anthony dollar. But seriously though, you can invest your money wisely and over time and consistently. When you commit to Computer Share, you commit nothing less than $50 a month. They have some companies on there that may be $25 a month. So you just have to do your research on the company.
Okay, great advice.
Thank you.
Well, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Equity Smart. We're talking to Dan Evans here, sharing with us great stock information. So continue on, Dan.
We basically left off talking about Computer Share and the various different companies on Computer Share, which there are hundreds of companies on Computer Share. Just scroll through, look for familiarity, Google them. read the reviews on them, do a little history on them, a little research on them. I'm not saying just to buy anything, but you say household names such as Pepsi and Coca-Cola, Exxon Mobil. For those that like their Timberlands or their Vans or their Wranglers or their North Face. That's all VF Corporation. VF Corporation owns all of those brands.
Wow.
Which VF Corporation is trading now at maybe $13 a share.
Well, it seems like that's what we should be more into, the innovative. We need to, create some things for people to invest into.
So let me make a plug right here. Just make sure you go to the website and sign up for our mastermind group. We have a mastermind group under stocks, and we're going to be talking about getting individuals together to educate. You can see Mr. Dan Evans has a lot of knowledge. He spent a lot of time in studying and doing a lot of research. And maybe you haven't done that. Maybe you don't have the time or even the energy, but yet you want to invest. So investment clubs we can segue into that as well. That's a good way to leverage and pool your resources together.
Definitely.
You want to speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. I've attempted maybe 3 or 4 investment clubs. The first one I attempted was back in 1999.
Okay.
And along the way, but each time it seems as though people fear what they don't understand and hate what they can't conquer. And some people are, I guess, I don't want to say scared to invest, but I would say scared to invest.
Yeah, because they don't know.
But not realizing that there's a lot of things that you did not know, but when you kept doing those things that you did not know, you became very knowledgeable in those things. Okay, so you can't be scared to take a chance. You've been taking a chance all your life. Okay, so why not take a chance on yourself?
That makes
Absolutely.
sense.
But I've attempted. The last one I attempted this month makes 10 years.
Wow.
But the last one that I attempted, it did not keep going, but I kept going. So I kept with the plan. I started with $100 a month back at that time. I was able to run into a couple of brothers that was in that club. It was going to be like 15 of us with the ideal of saving $100 a month. Okay, I ruled by committee. So we decided to go up and up it to 150 or whatever we chose to take that price up to. It was ruled by committee. The whole committee would decide what that number would be. No one individual can say, yo, we're going to do this. And no. Take it to the committee. What the committee say.
Right.
Why you pointing at me? I ain't the committee.
You're not the committee, bro. I'm just saying.
I'm just saying. Don't be singing. Don't be singing at me. Keep it that way. People think there's only one. They're gonna say I'm the committee.
Well, not you though, Mr. Cartwright. Not Mr. Cartwright committee. Not Mr. Cartwright. Another committee over there. But anyway, no, seriously though, you take it to the committee. Okay, and the goal was to invest, and keep half in the stock market and keep half physical cash. Okay, because at the end of the year, and it was a 3-year buy-in. Okay, at the end of the year, we have X amount of dollars. So how can we further these X amount of dollars? What can we do, which will force every brother and sister to really do some research and learn how to do a business plan. Okay, because if you got a solid business plan and the committee like, hey, yo, you know what, that's a pretty good idea. You know what, you got a pretty good idea too. And you know what, all these ideas are pretty good.
Right.
Okay, so maybe we want to up the ante and say $250 a month.
Yeah.
So we can start working on all of these goals.
Right.
And achieving the goals. Okay, because when I ran into the last brother I saw, I asked him. No, he asked me, he was like, man, I was wondering, where we would be today. I was like, I'm happy you asked.
Yeah.
So I took my phone out, and I showed him.
You showed him.
Yeah, I was like, bro.
He was sick,
on the stock side, we was at like 1.2 million.
Stop.
But remember, half was stock. And what was the other half?
Because we
sitting
were
on
cash. Yeah.
We had cash too, right? So that was like 2.4 million. Okay, now I'm from Union, so let's just say if we went to 116th and Kansas, 116th and Miles and 93rd and Miles and 93rd and Kansas, I think with $2.2 million, I think we could have probably put a plan together to get all the vacant
All
homes
those vacant homes.
Yes.
and the businesses.
Oh, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
But no, we're carpenters, we're framers, we're electricians, we're HVAC, we
Bricklayers.
we do it all. Okay.
Yes,
So
we do.
we could have owned the community and we could have policed our community. And maybe we could have did like old Chris Stasic and got a plan and sold that plan from city to city, state to state.
Yeah.
Okay? Because he's in, I believe, over 600 prisons with his cooking program.
Wow.
Yeah, so he getting big bank off of, and no disrespect, brother Chris. Okay? But he's getting big bank off of our pain. Because we filling the prisons up.
Right.
I mean, it is what it is. Okay? But, back what I was saying, we could have, focused on that area, right? Now we control the area. We own the area, right? Okay, so little brother, little sister just came home from school. They might have a political science education. We want you to run for council person.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, we're going to fund your campaign. Okay? Because if you fund someone's campaign, then hello. Okay?
Well, we see what happened, Elon and Trump.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But, when you got a seat at the table, you can play.
Right.
When you're on the sideline, it's called a spectator.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's true. Yeah, we filling the stadiums up. Yeah, they fill the rocket up. Okay.
Yeah, and when I heard this story, I was kind of disappointed because not so much for about the money that could have been made, although that was part of it, but it's the uniting and coming together and pulling our resources because it's something about watching some money or your investment grow. If you could get past the first 1 or 2 or 3 years, you can do something. I spoke to a group in Houston, actually former NFL player Warren Moon, his ex-wife had an investment club and she brought me in to speak. And I spoke to them and they had been around 3 or 4 years and they had the chairman or the person that was over it would come in and talk about stocks. But here's the thing, individually, all of them had learned how to evaluate companies. So when they came to the meeting, they were sharing, this is something I invested in personally, but I'm bringing it to the group. If you guys think we should put some money behind it, we will invest with it. If not, I'm just going to keep going. But everybody kept doing their own thing. Plus, they were still in investment clubs. So I'm still putting my 100, 500,000, whatever in there a month. But over here, I'm doing my own thing individually with my portfolio. But what was amazing, these women and men, they were just everyday people and they learned the whole stock game. They learned how to evaluate companies, how to go in and look at what worked and didn't. And they, played it on paper in some cases. Some people jumped in and it worked. And that's the value add of coming together. So I committed to Dan that we're going to crank one up and Sonya and I, even if it's just the 3 of us, we're going to do something because it's just, it's a vitally important piece that we need to think about.
It needs to be done. It's overtime, and we have to, realize that it may not be for us to benefit all.
It's
of
the
us.
generations.
It may be for future generations.
Absolutely.
We are a people that are very unique from every other human on the earth. Through our experiences of the things that we have experienced. We do not take that into consideration, and like I say, when you're enslaved by people, and then freed by the same people, and then educated by the same people, I think that's a dynamic that we never really pay attention to. That our captors' children have educated us. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, that is something to really think about.
That's
the chaos that you may see may not be accidental. Okay? Yeah, but we have to come to a realization that proper education corrects all errors. So if you got the proper education, you can correct that error. And we have to correct them errors. We have to unite and put our dollars together.
And we got to keep it together.
Keep it together.
So I have another quick story. The Realtors, the Black Real Estate Trade Association, one of our chapters in Oakland, they started an investment club. And what they did was very unique. When they raised X amount of dollars, they took one person in the group that signed and committed on the loan. That person got a higher share, which was calculated. But they had 8 properties in Las Vegas. And we're talking about in 2000. So they bought the models, and then if the models were leased back from the builder to them. So they was getting the income off of the model in the subdivision. This is Vegas. This is 2000 when they were 90,000, 160, 180. They hadn't double checked and tripled. And those same properties, I mean, median price out there is in the 7s now. But they had 8 properties in 8 subdivisions. And what happens, for those you don't know, if you buy the first house in the subdivision, that typically is the lowest price, and the builder sells it to you at cost because they need to use that property to showcase the subdivision. So if it's 50, 100, 150 homes, if it takes 3 to 4 years for it to sell out, not only do you have like a 3-year lease where you're getting income over and above your mortgage, right? You know the builder's gonna pay, right? That's a solid tenant, if you will, and there's no heavy lift on the property in terms of wear and tear because the property is only being used 6 to 8 hours a day and probably not 7 days a week, maybe 4 or 5 or even 6. But they typically take a day off. The other thing, Dan, is at the end of the 3 years, now you can sell the house because the subdivision is done and you're going to sell it and make a profit. And the only thing I hate is, again, they didn't keep their thing going, but they did make out very well on the 8 properties that they bought early on in Vegas. And I think about now, if they hadn't sold those properties, they would be, $5, $6, $7, $8 million strong because all those properties have just went crazy between the rents that they picked up over 3 years. And then that's a concept. So there are individuals who work with national home building companies where they'll come in and say, I'm looking to buy, put me on the list, I want to buy your model. And then, lease it back to me and I'll get that income and then I'll sell it, get my money back, pay off what's on my credit, etc.
Well, I have a question I would like to pose to the both of you.
Okay.
And that question is, since we're talking about stocks, right? Part of the problem may be is that we're not taking stock within ourselves.
Okay.
Do you think that we're not taking stock within ourselves?
That's true.
I believe, yeah. You know what, Dan? I remember when
I'm doing a drip for myself.
Right.
I'm taking a little bit.
You know what? I want to comment when you were working at that house in Garfield, and we were sitting out in the front on the porch, and you said something so profound. I never forgot.
He often does.
He does. Yes. He said that we are workers, not entrepreneurs.
Right.
That's
we
true.
think like workers.
Yeah.
We think 9 to 5.
Yeah.
That's the only way we know how to
That's
make
true.
money
Yeah.
is 9 to 5. That has weighed heavy on my mind all the time.
But you know what though, that keeps status quo. That's what that keeps. That keeps status quo. Yeah, because it's like kids playing video games. You got people plotting civilizations, and you sitting there on video. Yeah, chasing a ghost.
So yeah, we do need to invest in ourselves. Yeah, we do.
So where were you going with that question before
That's
we
my
close
question.
out? Okay.
Yeah.
So when we come back from the break, let's answer that question.
Okay.
All right, we're going to take another break. Equity Smart will get right back to you. And we're back. and we're talking to Dan Evans, and we're talking about something so profound. He was talking about taking stock in ourselves. So continue sharing with us about us investing in ourselves.
I just feel as though, it's not more so about, it is about investing into securities and so on and so forth. It is about that, okay? But it's about being the change that you would like to see in the mirror. Yeah, so be a change, be an asset and not a liability, to society. You know what I'm saying? Like, I still live in the inner city, and I love the inner city, okay? In my area, I have a bucket and a picker. I go pick up the paper daily. You know what I'm saying? And so I just want to be the change I want to see. Plus, I don't want to look at this.
Right.
And honestly, others, kind of keep that area a little bit nicer too.
Because they see you. They see you.
Yeah. I go up on the main avenue, from the main avenue to the playground. I pick the entire street up and the playground. So you gotta have some stock within yourself. You gotta have some dignity within yourself. A bird got enough sense not to use it in his own nest, but they'll go use it on your head.
Sure will.
They ain't gonna do it in their own nest.
No, they sure don't.
So if we pay attention to the animals, they'll teach you a
yes,
lot.
they will. Like the ant in the Bible.
Yes, yes. Animals are creatures of habit. We have the option of reasoning, but we're creatures of bad habits.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to get our habits together. Get our whole everything together. Get our diets together. Get our thoughts together. Get our sleep together. And keep your circle as big as the tip of an ink pen. Yeah, because it's the old adage. Your parents told you when you was a kid, if you hang with 9, whatever, you're going to be the 10th. That has not changed.
Right.
If you hang with 9 real estate agents, you're going to be the 10th. If you hang with 9 doctors, you're going to be the 10th. You hang with 9 criminals, you're going to be the 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th.
Okay.
When you gonna stop?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Serious.
Right.
You gotta have stock within yourself. Once you have stock within yourself, then you can consider investing. So it's not about just chasing a dollar. Okay, that's like someone dangling a carrot in front of you, and you chasing it, and you're never gonna catch it. You're just gonna keep chasing it, like a dog chasing his tail. It's never gonna catch the tail. It's gonna keep chasing it. Okay? And so if you get some stock within yourself, then we can, go from within to abroad. So it's a thought process. It's like minds. I really think that if you started, you have to keep it going. You cannot stop it. Yeah.
That's right.
And I kind of learned that actually a couple of years back. My wife's family reunion. I went to a family reunion. I realized that they had 51 consecutive family reunions.
Oh, that's
they had
great.
50, I think, this year.
And I bet it was growing and growing every.
But you know
every
what,
year.
though? What I learned, because I was talking to a couple of the older family members, right? And I was like, this year will make their 55th. 55 years in a row, they've had a family reunion.
Wow.
50, that is unheard of.
That's good.
I've never heard
I've
that.
never heard of that.
Ever before.
That's good.
Okay.
Wow.
But what that
That's
taught
a good
me
unified
right,
family.
was they was like some years it was just 2 people.
Wow.
Okay. Some years it was 10 people. But no matter, they never stopped.
Right.
Okay? They never stopped. And that is powerful.
That is.
Within itself. Just a lesson within the lesson is a lesson.
Right.
Wow.
You can't start and stop, start. You never get anywhere like that.
You never get anywhere. You have to just do it, So if we're going to do it, we have to just do it. Like I said, it's not about crazy amounts of money, okay? It's like if you start with $50, right? And you have this commitment monthly, right? Subconsciously, you're going to do what you have to do, to keep yourself going, to be able to to meet that investment every month.
Mhm.
You're going to do it.
Mhm.
So subconsciously, you know, you're going to keep yourself busy, keep yourself working, you know, keep yourself saving, keep investing within yourself to invest within the market. You know, so it's a twofold. It's not just a
Once you
one
get that momentum going, it's hard to stop.
It's hard to
because the
stop.
momentum is moving in the right direction. Then you get the momentum of doing nothing. It's hard to get started.
hard to get started.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that the group that you do it with, you have to persevere. You cannot fall off. You have to, you know, commit to this. This is what I'm about to do for the rest of my life. And we got less days in front of us than we have behind
Yes, we
us.
do.
Okay, so since we got less days in front of us, we gotta stand firm right now, 10 toes down, you know, on your square. Like this is what's about to occur. So we have to do that. There's no in between.
But why don't we? Why don't we? Because we're afraid somebody's gonna dip in the pot.
Well, that's, you know what, though? I'm happy you said that because how we had our investment club set up was that everybody can put in, but no one can take out.
That's a good way
It
to
was
have
in the
it set up.
bylaws that you had to have 2 signers
Yes.
and the entire investment club present to be able to take money out of the bank.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
there's no way, you know, I always said it's a foolproof plan as long as no fools are involved. I guess I've been good over the Well, I don't know, no disrespect to anyone, you know.
Right.
But I'm just saying we have to, you know, just, you know, if you commit to it, you have to stay on task.
Yes.
You have to commit. I mean, it's $50 a month, it's $100 a month. I mean, come on. We blowing this, you know, doing nothing.
Doing nothing.
Or doing something that we think is something that's nothing.
Right,
So
absolutely.
we're gonna have to come back and have to bring you back, man. It's a lot
Yeah.
of good information, and we're gonna talk a little bit more in depth and stay on this trajectory on this whole stock topic
I'm with that.
with Dan Evans. And any closing remarks you want to make?
Catch us next time.
All right.
That's
all
right. It's Equity Smart. It's the new cool.
That's right.
Yes.
We got some cool guests.
Right. Salute.
Salute.
All right.